Welcome back to the Loss Prevention News Network. We are on top of it, I think,
very
today.
excited to be here today.
Very excited to be here. I love live streaming. The industry's only digital fast break conference, and it is fast. It is fast-paced, isn't
right.
it, Ed?
I'm fast. I'm fast-paced.
Welcome back, Ed Wolfe. I'm Amber Bradley with my co-MC, Joe LaRocca, and we're talking about all kinds of topics today, and you have no idea what we're going to talk about.
Actually, I was just grabbed a minute ago, so let's do this.
Let's do it.
So
Joe?
Ed, we're double teaming you today.
All right.
I'm hitting
On
you
the
with,
hot seat.
I'm hitting you with the serious questions.
See, I'm not intimidated by you. I'm
Right.
intimidated by her.
Well, I am
okay.
intimidating.
Well, see, now,
I am a trained investigator, so it's fine.
Clearly, I need to step up my game, right? Here's a different topic for you. So, retail is not dying. Retail is not dead. The malls are not dead. That's all just a complete myth, fake news, right? But seriously, people are being displaced by the movements that are taking place. There's a shift to e-commerce, and I want to get perspectives about people looking for work. Maybe it's NWG. Maybe it's another company or organization. What skill sets do you think people should be exploring? Maybe it's training. I threw out the example of look into drones, acquiring them, managing them, data privacy, what happens if they crash, insurance, contracts, all of that. But what are some of the ideas that come to your mind for things people can look at in the future to enhance their career and maybe even prepare them for the next move?
People that are in retail now.
People in retail today.
Recognize that because they might be in a specialty retailer, because I think the specialty retailers are the ones that are being hit the hardest. When you walk down a mall, I was in San Diego last week with a customer, and we were walking the Fashion Valley Mall. And when you walk from store to store to store, and you see all these specialty retailers, you just recognize very quickly that there's nothing unique about them. And so, as a result of that, and the traffic was just not there.
Right.
Kids aren't going to the malls for entertainment anymore. So.
They're on their phones.
They're on their
These
phone.
millennials, they don't put their phones
Well,
down.
yeah.
I don't understand it.
Actually, the funny part was you walk through the place, it's a ghost town until you walk it past the Apple store, and the place is mobbed.
Right.
The place is mobbed.
So Apple, good for you.
Right.
Good for you.
So with that, I think that to answer your question, I think the issue of logistics is very important because transitioning into the whole issue of how do we fulfill online transactions. I think that there's been a funny shift. I remember when it first came out, when online first came out, we argued at Home Depot about whether or not our price in the store had to be the same price as online.
Right.
When you really look back on that, it's incredibly stupid.
Right.
And then you talk about whether or not a store has to fulfill from an online transaction, and if they do, then they're losing those sales. So should they get so? All that stuff has been worked out, I think, pretty much with these retailers. But the logistics is still tough.
Right.
So I think if you've got a good, solid background in loss prevention, and if you do, then you know a lot about logistics, then I think that's an easy transition.
And where would somebody go to find those types of skills? I mean, outside their company, perhaps they talk to their traffic department and talk to people in the supply chain, fleet management, et cetera, but where would you recommend they go to pursue some things like that?
Well, as an integrated executive within a company, you're dealing with your operations folks all the time. You're constantly dealing with them. So I would just stay in, I would get more, if you're the VP of loss prevention, then you get with your VP of operations and just start exploring what areas that he or she is available to let you explore.
Okay.
It's really, the people in operations are a lot like people in LP. They learned how to do that job from the ground up.
Right.
And so you can't really go anywhere other than to the experts.
Right. Excellent advice.
So we're totally resurrecting a segment that we did a couple years ago.
Uh-oh.
Because I think it's fun and hysterical, and it's all about what I find funny, really, because I have a microphone.
Which is a real question about whether anybody else thinks it's funny. But go ahead.
Who cares?
Why do we keep giving her the microphone?
Well, because it's funny. It is
funny.
because you had a good one, which was phrases that we need to retire from business. And what was yours, like inbequescent to or beholden to?
Pursuant to.
Pursuant. I knew it was something very attorney-like, Ed.
Pursuant
which
to,
I was
yeah.
very. And you said you didn't drop it. Like we made a commitment and you didn't do it. I don't understand.
You know what? I haven't talked to you since that time. I thought you were upset with me when I.
Well, I don't send you any more emails, Ed.
When I said I was going to do that, and then you know when I sat down and I was referring to something else.
You're still doing it in pursuant too.
Well,
no,
what
it's Latin.
no,
It's
what
Latin,
I did
really.
do is I shortened it. I shortened it to per.
Per.
There
Oh,
you
that's
go.
what it is.
That's what it
shortened
is.
For, it's like the re. I get it. So,
So-
do you have another one that you're not going to drop, but you should?
No.
No.
I'm just.
Well, at least we've got him down to per. Maybe at some point it would be just or something, right?
Yeah.
Well, that's cool.
Well, yes.
I've got one. You look like a very end of the day kind of guy. You ever use that one? Look, at the end of the day, really? Like,
No,
really?
I'm
No.
not.
Good
I'm
for
not.
you, Knuckles. No end of the
I
day
don't-
here. Joe, are
Look,
you? Are you an end of the day kind of guy?
I'm not an end of the day guy, but
Okay.
look, we thought blue sky, right?
Oh, man.
Blue sky.
Then turn to blue ocean.
And apples to apples. When you take those phrases
man.
and put them together,
Man.
I
Why
think
couldn't
we're
it
in
be
trouble.
grapes to grapes?
Well, I actually have one.
Oh, okay.
I have
Oh,
one.
let's hear it.
You know,
Impart your wisdom, please.
Well, no, when you're putting a memo in place and you say, as you know. Well, if you already know it, why
Yeah.
are you
Why are you saying-
repeating that?
That's really
that's
just
incredibly
to say,
stupid.
I told you.
Yeah.
But you
Right.
still don't do it. So, as you know, I told you 50 times.
And as you know, we're getting the wrap-up
We're getting-
sign
yes,
right now.
I know, but I just love this topic.
So we're just going to reel it right back in.
Right back into Gus.
Ed, thank you so much
Thanks,
for
Ed.
joining us. Thanks for tuning in to the Loss Prevention News Network. And we're going to send it back over to Gus Downing right now.